Welcome into the Hoosier Illustrated post-game wrap-up show. I'm Drew Rosenberg. I'm joined by Kyler Staley, who's at Assembly Hall right now. I really don't even know what to say at this point. Indiana, this might have been the worst effort you could really probably the worst effort of the Mike Woodson era. I don't think it's been worse than it was tonight.
I think this might be, when you look at the grand scheme of things, with this team and the hype that they had with them and everything, I think this is the worst loss ever in IU history. From a point standpoint, 94 to 69 on your home floor in Assembly Hall, one of the best college basketball venues in the world, and you pretty much disgraced all of that. You disgraced everything there is when it comes to Indiana basketball tonight, and it was a poor effort nearly from the start. I would say you allowed 60 points scored in the first half, no fight at all, and second half you showed a little bit of it. You looked like you wanted to get back into it, but when you're down 30 points, a lot of things you do a lot of things on the floor that can make you look a little bit better than what it is, but bad effort from everybody. Nobody did anything good. The coaching was awful. The game plan was awful. Whatever that game plan was, you don't even know if the players followed it or whatever. It's not Indiana basketball. It's just bad. And really, I'm just rambling right now, but it's sad in a lot of ways, Drew.
Yeah, there's not I guess there's one singular positive I could take from this game, that's Shakai Newton playing, and that's about it. Everything else was as bad as it could have been. You got dominated on the rebound, on the glass, and with that, you just watch it. It was effort. There was one play in the first half. For anyone who was on Ant Wright's halftime Twitter, whatever.
Chill space, right?
Yeah, chill space. That's the word. All right.
Yeah.
But there was a play, Mbako had a clear box out. Will Riley outworks him, grabs the rebound, gets a quick putback layup. Like, it was all the things that you need to do to be a good basketball team, all the little things. Indiana did none of them. Illinois did. I wouldn't even say Illinois played that well today either. That was like the thing that was like really frustrating about this game. It wasn't like Illinois shot some like crazy percentage. Like, they shot 40% from the field. It was not like they like dominated the game, like played their best game of the year. Indiana was just that bad. It was more so Indiana playing horrible than Illinois doing anything out of this world.
It was a college basketball team playing a fifth grade team in a lot of sense, and it's fundamentals, right? And you talked about just a little bit pure laziness. I counted at least 3, and I know there's way more than that. I counted at least 3 times that I saw with my own eyes Indiana defenders fall asleep and let up easy cuts, because there was one play, I don't know what it was, but it was when Indiana was kind of trying to go on that run to get back into the game at the beginning of the second half. They needed defensive stops, and there was like a double team with Mbako, maybe Anthony Lill or whatever, and then Luke Goody falls asleep and lets a Illinois player get that easy cut, easy basket. And it's the little things, and that's the frustrating part. Like, to be a good basketball team, it's the little things. You touched on it. It's fundamentals. It's just being coachable. And I don't know right now if this team's coachable. I don't know what the problem is with the coaching style. It's just, there's a lot of questions on here, and it's just very head scratching, because I will sit here right now and I will still say this Indiana team, talent wise, still has probably the best group of talent in the Big Ten, right?
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? And obviously, Indiana paid a lot of money for a lot of these players, and you got guys that have been in the program for a long time: Trey Galloway, Anthony Leal. And first of all, side note on Trey Galloway, the way he's playing as a senior is just absolutely pathetic. And I'll just be straightly honest with you, because you got to say these harsh words, because you just got to get your point across. And Galloway, what he's showing on the floor is just not senior level. That's freshman stuff, what I'm seeing out of him. And there's a lot of times where I think even Bryson Tucker shows a lot more maturity on the basketball floor than what Galloway does. But that's just besides the point. But it's just every single player, and it wouldn't have mattered if Malik Renew was playing today or not. It's effort at the end of the day. And when you've got a game that you have to win, if you want to make the NCAA tournament, if you want to compete for a Big Ten championship, you got to win these types of games. And Indiana hasn't done that in these past 2 games versus Iowa. And today it's just very head scratching and just very, very embarrassing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm almost at a loss for words at this point. I think you look at this team, you look at just even going back to last year, because I know it's, a very different roster. You have obviously the returners of like Trey Galloway. I know Malik Renew is out, Leal out. But this is the exact same stuff we saw last year on a bigger level with more talent. And it's somehow worse. I know, the record's better at this point than it was last year. They have the quad one win already, but you look at the next, I think it's the next 8 games. There isn't a game there I look and say, you know what, Indiana's going to win that game confidently. I don't even see a game I think confidently that they're going to compete. It's that bad right now. And we talked about we're not hitting the panic button yet. I'm past the panic button at this point. If they lose this game by 10 points, it's one thing, but the way they came out, no effort, just lack of energy, focus, attention to detail, and you have all this talent, all this NIL money you've spent on this roster, and this is the result you're getting. This is stuff that just can't happen, especially in January of this season. We've talked about Mike Woodson going to can he turn the season around, save his job? The conversation is going to quickly turn if Mike Woodson, this 8-game stretch could quickly turn Mike Woodson's season into will he have a job by the end of the year? Because I don't know if Woodson makes it through maybe even this 8-game stretch if Indiana plays like it did today.
Yeah, there's just no positives really you can take away right now. And the frustrating part is, you thought that Indiana had kind of turned the corner a little bit because they started off the 2025 calendar year, playing some really good basketball. Obviously, Renew goes down and they figure out, a style that they can play with the one big. And these past 2 games, man, it's frustrating to watch because it's just like, what happened? Just, I don't know. But like everybody that, is hitting the panic button has every right to do that right now. There's no reason for anybody to really have faith right now that this season's going to turn around. But, I think there's still 13 games left. So obviously there's time to turn it around if they were able to, rally off these next 2. That's another thing too. They're going on the road these next 2 games. You have no confidence that they're going to show up on the road because when have they really ever shown up on the road other than Penn State? So, and you looking back, it's just like, how did Indiana win that game? It's weird. But I will say these next 4 days or whatever before the Ohio State game, they have to have some kind of come to Jesus moment. I don't know what that is, but like that, they're gonna have to just sit down and they're gonna have to figure things out. And Mike Woodson can say, "Oh, we got to get back to work" and everything like that. I think we're way past that. It's time to figure out what the root cause of all this is, and maybe time for Mike Woodson himself. And I don't know if he's done this to look at himself in the mirror and see what he needs to change as a coach because this is going to be a long 2 months of basketball if Indiana doesn't figure out things, but. Yeah, just pathetic at the end of the day. There's no more words I can think of other than pathetic.
Yeah, Mike Woodson has all the resources, everything you could need to be successful. You have the history with the program. There's so much passion for this fan base. And still it's he had 2 years, you're like, oh, he improved, and then it's gotten even worse. And it's getting to the point, I'm Brent just put this comment out. How do you even let him finish the year? I don't. If this continues, I don't understand. I don't see how we can finish the season. If Indiana goes through this 9-game stretch, and I think there is a real world they could go winless in this stretch, which is insane to think about at the start of the year that Indiana could go winless for a 9-game stretch in the Big Ten. I guess 10-game if you go back to Illinois or Iowa. It is a mess, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. I know Malik Renew's out, and his, him coming back it's going to help as much as people, are frustrated with the 2 big system, but it's bigger than that at this point. It's just shocking what we're seeing from Indiana, how this team is getting worse right now at a time where teams are supposed to be figuring it out and getting better.
Yeah, and to me, obviously right now, based off these last 2 games and, the other losses that Indiana's had this year, it does look like a change needs to be made. I don't see that change happening in the middle of the season because very rarely, you really don't see a whole lot of times that college coaches get fired in the middle of the season. Yeah, they'll leave like Jim Larrañaga did or whatever, but very rarely do you see that. So I don't think they make a change with that. But, this offseason, it's something. If they don't turn it around these next 13 games and finish out the Big Ten season strong and get back on track, there's going to be a change in leadership, and that'll obviously come with changes in assistant coaching and just changes in player personnel and all that stuff. So I don't know. It is very head scratching to me. for what I watched, it was a clown show.
Yeah.
That fight that they had at the end of the game, that was the most fight that they showed these last two games. And
Mm-hmm.
I also just want to say, it was really bad, but major respect to Miles Rice and Umar Ballo for standing up for Luke Goody in that situation. So it at least showed you that they're a team and they actually, look out for one another. But other than that, it's just, to me, that could have been the final nail in the coffin of this season, just with that fight. And, who knows what's going to happen. There could be a suspension with Umar Ballo as well.
Yeah.
So that's something to also watch out. But I don't know, Drew, we got a podcast coming up in the next couple.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Record tomorrow. Probably going to be out Thursday where it's going to be a lot more in depth, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I just really don't get it. Lucky Lizard, as a Boiler fan, I want IU to be good. It makes things interesting. They're good individual players. They have the talent. Maybe they just need more time to gel as a team. I wanted to agree with you. I mean, I do. And, if you asked me probably a month ago, I would have said, yeah, just give them a little more time, let them gel. But the fact they're getting worse and not better tells me everything you need to know. Indiana teams, this is a point of the year where teams are figuring stuff out, starting to get better. They'll have some tough stretches and they'll play good teams. And get better. But Indiana's not getting better. This is the worst they've looked all year. We saw, a Louisville game. Louisville was not nearly as bad as this. And Louisville was bad. People were ready to fire Mike Woodson immediately after that game. I don't even know what to say. Tim Russell's making me laugh a little bit. I don't know if you can see this, Kyler, but more time to get over the hump.
Yep. That's the ongoing joke. But look, I mean, here's a positive I guess you could take out of this. They can't play much worse than what they did these last two games. So I guess that's a positive to look at. But I mean, like you said, we got a podcast coming up. We'll get more in depth into this because I mean these are obviously quick reactions and whatnot. But it's embarrassing to watch. That's some embarrassing basketball to watch, especially in Simon Scotch Assembly Hall, out of all places. So I got no more words, Drew. I don't think anything else.
I just want to talk about, I guess, one more thing. I mean, if Woodson, like you mentioned, you doubt Woodson gets fired until the end of the year. I mean, we haven't really seen that happen, like guys getting fired midseason. But my question, I guess, with NIL, is that something that Scott Dolson, I guess you need Quinn Buckner with all the, the rumors about that. But Scott Dolson say, hey, you know what, let's get a new coach in here. Maybe fire him early so they can start figuring out a plan and address it early because. I mean, you have a Trent Sicily commitment that you very much so like to keep.
Yeah.
And we've seen Liam McNeely that decommitment. We've seen Indiana miss on for just going down the list of recent commitments. Indiana, I don't want to say should have had, but a different coach might have landed. You have a Derek Queen, you have Liam McNeely, you have a Boogie Fland, you have a Braylon Mullins. It's not just the on-court issues; it's also the recruiting is a problem. There isn't a sign for this program that says, you know what, hey, this is going to get better anytime soon. And at that point, I think you have to cut losses. And obviously, I'm not saying fire him tonight. I'm not saying fire him tomorrow. But if this doesn't get better really fast, I don't know if Woodson makes it to the end of the year.
It'll be interesting to watch. That's pretty much all I can say. They got Ohio State on Friday. If they can win that game, that puts some positivity back into this a little bit. But, I mean, they're going to have to go on a really big run for everyone to just kind of get back into this thing. And, obviously, if you're a true Indiana fan, you'll support this team through and through. But it's just right now, there's just not a whole lot of things to be joyful about when watching this basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, that's an understatement of the year, Kyler. I want to believe this thing could change. I just haven't seen anything that gives me any confidence at that. And it's also guys are getting worse. I feel like Miles Rice, he hasn't been bad this year. This is not Miles Rice being bad, but it's also freshman and sophomore year. Usually a guy takes a jump. Miles Rice is pretty similar to where he was last year. He was a great player last year. He's been pretty good, really good points for us this year. Cannon Carlisle was, one of Stanford's best players last year, and he is, has not been great. I mean, his jump shot never really took that step. It seems like it's a coaching thing at this point more than anything. I think everything we kind of say comes back to coaching, and that's, writing is on the wall for Mike Woodson.
Yep. And I got nothing else to add, Drew. I'm I got nothing else to add. But make sure to tune into our Talking About the Hoosiers podcast on Thursday for more in-depth. Got to sleep on this a little bit and figure out what else we can talk about here. But tonight, not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, we'll probably have a 30, 40, maybe an hour of us talking just about Woodson. But yeah, so don't miss out on that. We'll have post-game press conferences from like Woodson, everything in between on the HoosierIllustrated.com website and on the YouTube that you're on right now. Thanks for tuning in to the HoosierIllustrated.com post-game wrap-up show. We'll be back on Friday with another, and tune into the Talking About the Hoosiers podcast that releases every Thursday. Thanks for listening.